his eyes went big. He arched his neck. He showed me his side and he arched his neck like, this is how big I am. I am big and powerful, intimidating.
This is the second part of a two-part series all about your first cattle, handling them, basics, safety. In part 2, Karin shares a really scary story with us about working with a bull. She got caught off guard. It's a great one, so stick around for that. And stay tuned to the end because Karin's going to tell you what kind of cow or cattle you should get first, whether or not that's a cow, a steer, a calf. It's a great interview and it's going to help you get started in the world of cattle safely. Stick around. For someone who is less experienced, maybe they don't even have the same fears that like I did, but if they're less experienced, or someone who is getting, going through this routine of just being around their animals, what should they know before getting close to the cattle and eventually making that step, because you do have to make that step eventually to get in with your cattle for some reason. What do people have to know about working in close proximity to cattle?
One thing about cattle is that they could test you. Once they figure out that you're anxious or nervous, they'll try and test you. They'll be shaking their head. They'll try to get in your space, especially the tame ones. Bulls are especially really bad for doing that. You get into a pasture. I mean, I've had that experience where a bull had directly challenged me, and it was terrifying. It was really scary, but I should probably tell that story because that's
you can't just let that one go. No, we got to hear the bull story. Come on.
So what happened was that I was briefly hired to work at a farm just out where I used to live. And the first thing that he had me to do was to move these group of cows and to separate out this one calf that was a little bit lame, was a bit sick, and that. He didn't tell me about the bull. So here I am going into this corral and I see this massive black bull. He was 6 feet tall. I'm 5'2". He's 6 feet tall at the shoulder. He looks like a big tank. Massive, muscly, just oh my gosh, what a bull. And the first thing he looks at me from the side, because cows they you think they're looking at you from the front, and actually when they turn their head, they can still see you from the side. He was looking at me from the side. And the first thing he did was he widened his eyes went big. He arched his neck. He showed me his side and he arched his neck like, this is how big I am. I am big and powerful, intimidating. Do not come near me. And I seen this big guy and I thought, oh boy. And I was in the middle of a corral. I was within probably 100 feet or so of any kind of escape route. I had no stick with me, just me, myself, and this big bull. So I stopped. I had to just stop right there, right in my tracks. And I was scared because previously when I was little, I had a really bad experience with the bull when I was like 4 or 5. And I just didn't want to move. I knew that if I ran away, he'd come after me, and because my short little legs wouldn't run as nearly as fast as he would. All I did was just stop and just avert my eyes, not look at him, because if you look directly at the eyes of a challenging bull like that, he's going to come after you, no question. And what happened was quite something. So all I did was I just tossed every kind of negative thought that he was going to come after me. He was going to make me into mincemeat, dirt and mincemeat and that. And I just thought, okay, guy, all I want you to do is to move. All I want you to do is just please move for me. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to cause you any trouble. Just all I need you is just to move. So he So that's all I thought. And then I pictured in my mind, I have a photographic memory, I pictured in my mind him relaxing and moving on. And I formed that picture in my mind. It sounds so crazy, but this is exactly what I did. Formed that picture in my mind, and I psychologically sent it out to him. And most amazing thing happened. He completely relaxed. He eased his neck. His eyes softened up. He turned his head to look at me, and then he just walked away. And I thought, Lord heaven above, thank God. Thank you. I must have had someone looking over me. Angels were singing, oh man. And I just like tried to, get over that shock, because I was just expecting, in the back of my mind, I was just expecting him to come after me. And then all of a sudden I just said, good boy. And after that, he was an absolute dream to move. So I just went and I moved him into the gate, and of course I forgot to open up the gate. So he was so good. Like all he did, I just put him where he was, opened up the gate, and then I moved kind of by him again, and he went in without an argument, went into that gate without an argument, and then left open the gate, went to grab the cows, because I'm sure the cows were watching the whole thing. They knew what was going on. Got the cows in, no problem. Separated out that calf. Life was good. Shut the gate. Life was all good.
Man.
So
that's a good one, Karin. Whew.
So that was a life-changing, because I was scared of bulls before, and he helped me get over that fear. He was kind of that step in getting over a fear of bulls. I mean, bulls, you need to respect them. They're big. Some people think they're unpredictable. They're only unpredictable if you don't know what to look for.
What's a good way for someone to get a little boots on the ground experience without actually buying the animals first, Karin? Any advice where someone could go to get some, interaction in a kind of a safe space with these animals?
Probably the best way to get that kind of experience is go to a farm and, talk to a farmer to try and get some experience with working with those large, bulls, or even big cows. Because cows with calves are another interesting subject. That's one of the best things is to go find yourself another farmer, and they can tell you all you want, but I think the best thing is to get experience on your own. Because that's the best way you can learn.
Yeah.
You can read all the books you want. Like even with me, I love books. I love reading about stuff like this, but nothing can compare with getting the actual experience, the actual boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And if you can find someone who's willing to take you under their wing and to teach you all this, that's the best way to go. Spending that time is important. I'm bad for doing that. Probably a good thing, because every time we get a bunch of steers, I'm always out there just walking with them, talking quietly to them, just hanging out with them, and it doesn't take them very long for them to relax and just be at ease and just hang out, and then they start realizing that when you're out there, you're not out there to stab them with needles or
Right.
stuff like that. You're just there just to be with them.
Do you suggest when somebody is starting off at the size that we are, should they start with a calf? What should someone start with?
Best thing to start with is what you guys did, is to start with a cow. Especially a cow that's had a calf or two. She's got a bit more experience with, especially if it's a dairy cow, she'll have a bit more experience with milking. She'll have a bit more experience with the calf. If you're getting a heifer, heifers can be a bit of a challenge, let me tell you, mainly because their first time mamas, I've seen, it's just like, I talked about this with the goats. I talked it in the comments. Heifers are exactly the same thing. They think they had this enormous poop, and they don't know what this wiggling thing up the other end that came out their other end is something that's going to be needing their attention and a bit of suckling. But especially if you're trying to start a little bit of a cow calf operation. So
Yeah.
so either a cow or beef steers are also really good to get your feet wet in. Weaned steers are great. They're they're still going to be a bit of a challenge because they're kind of like teenagers. They're just there's not going to be so much risk with disease and with some other issues like with young calves. Like you just got this day old dairy bull calf from the sale barn. And I've heard of people that have tried starting with calves and they ended up losing calves because either they didn't feed them properly, they ended up getting some disease, some scours that the calf they couldn't treat right away, or well, not right away, but they just didn't know how to treat properly, and they ended up losing the animal. And that's sad. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't wish anybody to lose an animal because that is heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, especially at the
But
beginning when you're not experienced and you just feel like, oh man, I just failed at everything.
yeah, older animals are the best. That's what I recommend for starting out.
Is it okay would you suggest starting with just one? Is that an okay thing to do on a small homestead? If you are going to start with just one, is there something you can do to make it better?
Cows are like potato chips. You can't just have one, and they're a herd animal. So, especially if they're the only animal on the homestead, they're going to be lonely. It's not good for them to be lonely. They're social animals. They need a herd. So, if you're going to be having one cow, you should at least try to get two. Like, it doesn't have to be two dairy cows. It can be just a cow and a beef steer that you're going to be raising up for beef. That's totally fine. But yeah, they're social animals. They don't do well when they're by themselves. If you have some sheep or goats, they'll be fine. They'll be okay with that. But there still can be some troubles with mixing them because if the sheep aren't used to them, or if they're not used to the sheep, I mean, you can get some issues like they'll be bossing the sheep around or the sheep will just have nothing to do with them.
What is your closing advice to anybody who is maybe on the fence? Maybe they were like me, they're a little bit scared of this idea. Maybe they're like Kay was, they're excited about this idea. What's your closing advice to someone who's about to step into the world of cattle?
Closing advice is to do research, do as much reading and research as you can. Talk to as many farmers, get a bit of experience working with cattle with some farmers, especially if you don't know what you're getting into. Don't be too confident that you actually know what you're getting into because there's always a chance that you don't know what you don't know. and that's totally it's so important. So having books like Story's Guide to Raising Beef Cattle is a really good book. There's other books out there that are really great to study up on before you get into animals because they will tell you the nitty gritty. They won't sugarcoat anything. I don't like it when people sugarcoat things because that's just the BS out there. There's so much. You gotta be really careful.
You too, Karen, but I think we're pretty good at Homesteady about not sugarcoating. Look at our videos this last week. It's been like,
that's what got me to listening to you guys because
you guys are
sugar. So genuine. I love it. Absolutely love it.
See scours and all. Karen, this was a great interview. So much good advice for someone who's getting started or looking to get started with cattle. If someone wants to find you, if they want to find out more, where can they find you? Where can they chat with you? Let us know.
I'm all over the place. But my main thing, I am on Facebook, Twitter. My Twitter handle is Wild Rose Beef. Probably the best way they can get a hold of me though is I have a website called bovinepracticum.com. It's a blog, personal. It's not really a personal blog. It's just kind of a blog where I just have all my thoughts and stuff on cattle, that from odd things like people getting hurt by bison to the ethical debate with slaughtering cattle and all that kind of stuff. So contact me page. They can go on there and they can ask me questions.
Karen, this was great. Thank you all to all you who joined us live for the Pioneer Show. If you're watching this later in the library, thank you for watching it later in the library. We'll have links below to everything if you want to find Karin there. And if you missed the Homesteady Pioneers live show, if you're not a pioneer and you'd like to join us for this show and all the other shows that we do, see the whole entire uncut version of this episode, you can come become a pioneer back at the website, just like Karin. Karin's a Homesteady Pioneer. She helps us do this show every month, so we can't do it without Homesteady Pioneers like you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Great episode, and we have some more really good ones coming up. We have some more cow episodes coming up, other animals. Stay tuned. Keep an eye on the Pioneers tab, and you'll see what is coming down the pipe. We'll see you in our next live show.